The city is flooded with taxi and car driving services, but most people behind the wheel are men. Only about 1% of taxi drivers and 1/3 of drivers for services like Uber and Lyft are women.
Hi, I'm at the corner almost to the 42nd and 8th. Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Dolores started out as a taxi driver in 1984 and has since worked with companies like Uber, Git, Lyft, Via, and Juno. She says she rarely sees other women in her industry.
They're afraid, I guess. They're afraid that maybe somebody might attack them or something because you are a woman and you don't know.
Taxi drivers are 30 times more likely to be killed on the job than any other worker, and they're 80 times more likely to be robbed on the job than any other worker, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Labor. And so it is an incredibly dangerous job, and I've heard from our women members. I mean, just especially when you work in the night shift and you're driving. You're driving folks that are intoxicated, or really coming into your car in a group, right? When it's like 3 or 4 people at once, there's an added level of vulnerability.
It happened to me. A man came in, but he was selling me the gun. I pick up a passenger, and the next thing I know, he's showing me a gun, and I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So he told me, "Give me $5." It was a joke. I don't know if the gun was real, but I told him, no, I have my own, What I'm going to say? I had to improvise something afterwards. I was thinking, the whole thing, how it went, and I said, oh my God, how vulnerable you are that you can just get shot and you don't know.
The challenges that Dolores faces just scratch the surface of what many female drivers go through on the job.
We've definitely had lots of incidents of verbal harassment, especially sexualized verbal harassment. We had a woman driver. Actually, she was not a yellow cab driver. She was driving for Lyft. So the company knew who the passengers were, right? And they had harassed her, assaulted her, took her belongings, stole her belongings. In the beginning, we saw many of our women members go to Uber or Lyft because there was an expectation of safety, that you're going to know who the passenger is, the company will know who the passenger is. But 3 years later, we're just not seeing that to be the case. I mean, we hear of incidents of assault of Uber and Lyft drivers, as much as we're hearing about incidents of assault against yellow and green cab drivers. And then when an incident does happen, the companies will say, well, due to privacy, they won't give the information readily of those passengers.
I decided to shadow Dolores for a day on the job.
Hi. I'm still in traffic. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know. You're not going to be here anytime soon. You're not moving, right?
I am moving very slow.
Besides traffic, one thing I noticed Dolores worrying about was finding a bathroom.
There's no bathroom available. This is one of the reasons, very serious reason with us, because women cannot go any place, Working for Uber, because you're working hours and hours, and it's very hard to find the bathroom. I landed 3 times in a hospital with urinary infection.
The long hours required for the job also presents a challenge for drivers who are mothers trying to make ends meet.
It's the type of job where the hour that you work really matters, because it's not like you have fares every hour of the 12 hours. And so particularly if you are the primary caretaker that's bringing kids to school or picking them up, those are rush hours. You can't really afford to miss those hours.
When my kids was little, younger, I was just driving nights. Part of the day, but most of the nights. I don't know, I think I used to sleep 2 hours. You stay on the street until you collect the money you need, and you can't just say, "Oh, I can't." Maybe men does it, but as a woman, most of the women who work for a living, you don't go home and say, "I can pay my rent." You don't go home and I can pay the electric, I can pay the bill for the kids. You just have to find a way to make it.
Though there are numerous obstacles and safety risks for female drivers, the New York Taxi Workers Association is working to support those drivers and encourage a female-friendly workplace.